If you're thinking about getting a new credit card, then this is the video for you. It is my May 2021 update of the best promos and offers and benefits you can get from credit cards this month. I've got some news for you as well. Bad news if you're a Barclaycard customer, potentially. And also good news if you're thinking of getting an American Express, because there are some boosted referral bonuses for the next few weeks. I'll take you through those. And also, as I always do, I'll take you through the leading offers. Things like balance transfer cards, 0% purchase cards, cashback and reward credit cards, cards to spend fee-free overseas. I'll take you through some of the leading offers right now. Now, as I do every time I talk about credit cards, I do want to quickly share with you, first of all, some basic rules, some golden rules that you need to sort of follow if you are thinking about getting a credit card. And the first one is, just because you can get one doesn't mean you should get one, okay? You need to be really confident that any money you put on the credit card, apart from the balance transfers and purchase cards, and we'll get to that in a minute, any one cards that you put money on, you can clear that total balance, completely pay it off every single month. Because you do that, you avoid getting charged interest. If you can't do that, if you can only afford to put a little bit on, pay a small amount off every month, and it's not a 0% card, you will get charged interest, and that is a bad thing. It wipes out the benefits you're getting in most other areas. And if you really need to borrow, there might be cheaper ways you can get access to cash. And if debts are a problem, you can't afford to buy your essentials, which is why you might want a credit card, then again, there are other solutions you can do. Talk to people like Step Change or Citizens Advice to try and get some free debt help. So that's the first one. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. The second one is, just because you want to doesn't mean that you can, okay? Just because you apply for a credit card doesn't mean you'll get it. And in fact, just applying blankly, just going to a website, applying for a card can be quite risky, because if you get rejected, it can hurt your credit report. It can damage your credit score, bring that down, because underneath it, that credit report that sits there, it takes a hit every time you apply, whether you're successful or not. So if you get rejected and apply for another one, that's 2 applications rather than 1. If you get rejected on 2, apply for a third. It's going to make it harder each time you try and get that credit, because each time you're applying, it's, as I say, doing some damage. So what you need to do before you apply for any credit card is go via an eligibility search option. Now, sometimes you'll see that directly on the credit card provider. They'll say, see if you're eligible for this card. Sometimes I think this is a better thing to do, is to go via a comparison site. Now, these all are varied. They all are quite different. Often what they do is they only show cards which they get a kickback for, what's called an affiliate payment. But they just give you an indication of a range of cards you might get. And that's really, really important. When we talk about the different cards later on, and I talk about you can get up to this amount of months, this 0% period, or you can get this amount of cash back on this one. Just because that rate is out there doesn't mean you'll get it. You might be better off going for a card with a shorter amount of time at 0%, but a higher chance of acceptance. So go via those eligibility checks. Now, the one that I tend to use is Money Saving Experts Credit Club. Now, again, this isn't whole of market. It just shows you the cards which they get the money back for it. But there's a decent number of cards on there. And again, it gives you a selection. If you want to see a card that's not on there, you can always check directly with that website and see if they have that eligibility checker. But so vital that you do this. So there you go, very quickly. If you are going to get one of these cards, make sure you can pay it off completely every single month. And if you are going to apply for one, make sure you check your eligibility before actually making that application. So they're the basics there with credit cards. We'll get into the individual cards in a minute, but let me share with you a couple of credit card news from the last month. The big one here is for Barclaycard customers, and you may already have had a letter in the post from Barclaycard telling you they are going to reduce your credit limit. Now, your credit limit is basically how much you can spend on your credit card. So if it says a credit limit of £2,000, if you have £1,800 on there, you can only spend another 200 quid on that card before you go past that limit. You max out your card. This is something which is kind of set by different lenders at different times. So sometimes you get one that's too small for you. Sometimes over time, these credit limits creep up and they get much higher than you possibly would need. And that sometimes can be quite dangerous and tempting to people to think, right, oh, I'll put it on the card because I can. I've got another £1,000, £2,000, whatever it might be on your card. So Barclaycard have written to a lot of their customers saying they are going to reduce that credit limit. And sometimes it's been reported on social media and other sort of news outlets, reporters of credit limits of like £10,000 reduced to £250. Really ridiculous cuts there. If you were using this card, for your spending for whatever reason, 250 quid is nothing, particularly if you were used to spending more than that. Now, if this has happened to you, there are a few things you can do. You can appeal. If you think that limit has been cut far too low for you and your spending, you can appeal and see if they will put it back to what it was, or at least give you slightly higher than what they've suggested. However, I would think if you are using a Barclay card, on the most part, right, other than one card that I'll get to later on, you're not really getting anything from it other than the ability to spend on a credit card. It's just a card, you get it, you put your money on it, and hopefully, as I say, you pay it off completely so you don't get charged interest, and then you spend on it again, and you keep repeating that. But most of the time, you're not getting any extra benefit. So if you are subject to this credit limit cut and you feel you need a higher credit limit elsewhere, then I would suggest you look at one of the other cards that I'll get to in a minute, particularly those cashback and reward ones, which can get you money back on your spending. Now, there is a Barclaycard one that does that, and we'll touch on that. But if that isn't the card you've currently got with a credit limit that's dropped, then close your Barclaycard and go for one of the others. Now, there's something else that's really important to mention here when we talk about this credit limit coming down, because your credit limit, you might think, well, it doesn't really matter because I never spend more than £500 on my card. So the fact they've knocked it down from 4,000 to 1,000 doesn't matter. But that can have an impact on your credit report, something called credit utilization. This is something that the credit reference agencies, the likes of Experian and Equifax and TransUnion, one of the metrics that they use and other lenders use when they look if they're going to lend you any money, like a mortgage or a credit card or a loan or whatever it might be, they look at how much credit you're using versus how much you could use. And this is called the credit utilization. So if you have a credit utilization of 30%, that basically means you are only using 30% of the total credit available to you. So if you had £10,000 available, you are only using £3,000. Again, if you had £1,000, you're only using £300. And actually the limit you kind of want to have it at, generally the average, is around that sort of 25-30%. That's what the credit reference agencies say. Again, it could vary depending on who you're applying for to borrow money from. They might want higher or lower, maybe lower, but generally that's a good thing. Now, if you suddenly had your credit limit with Barclaycard dropped by, say, £2,000, then that's going to have a big impact. Suddenly you might have been around 20%, 10%. You might now suddenly be at 60%, 70%. So that's something really important to bear in mind as well if that credit limit has dropped. And you might want to be looking at a different credit card again to hopefully boost that up and bring you back to where you were. Now, the other bit of news to tell you about is a special offer for American Express. Potentially, this is a really good time to go for one of these cards, as long as you can follow those rules that we spoke about before. Essentially, some of the cashback cards, when you apply for them, something I generally say to do is to go via either a cashback site like Top Cashback or Quidco, or via a refer a friend link, which if you've got a mate who's got an Amex card, they can give you and you both get a bit of money back. Most of the time, the cashback rates are better than the refer a friend offers, okay? So it's worth comparing them, looking at the different sites, seeing what rates you can get from your mates. Most of the time that's better, but there is a promotion running until May the 12th, 2021, which increases how much you'll get from the refer a friend link. And there are a couple of cards here to talk about in particular. The American Express Platinum Cashback Credit Card, that referral bonus jumps up from 25 quid to 35 quid, so an extra tenner. And that's really handy with that card because that completely wipes out that £25 annual fee. Again, I'll talk about those quickly in a minute. But there is one refer a friend offer that's been enhanced with Amex in particular I think it's worth taking a look at, and that is for the Amex Preferred Rewards Gold Credit Card. A bit of a mouthful, that one. But this one, rather than getting 2,000 points, you now get 12,000 points, okay? That is worth, rather than being worth 10 quid, it's now worth 60 quid. So an extra 50 quid thanks to this promotion, but still 60 quid, you'll be better off by getting a refer a friend bonus rather than going straight to the card. And as I'll get to in a minute, you can hack that a little bit. You can make those points be worth even more if you swap them into Avios points and then into Nectar points. In fact, if you do that, they're worth £96, almost 100 quid extra you'll be getting by using this refer a friend promotion. Now, there are some terms and conditions that you have to bear in mind with that, and we'll talk about that in a second when I give you a bit more detail about the card. But there you go, a couple of things to bear in mind. That's your credit card news for this month. Barclaycard, credit limits are dropping. Maybe shop around and get a new card to replace it. Maybe get one with a better promotion. And American Express, good time to apply for them if you can get a refer a friend promotion. And I will give you my link below, but obviously chat to your family, chat to your friends, see if they've got one that they will share with you, because they will get a kickback as well. I won't get a kickback from it because it's limited how many people you can get the money back from in a year. So if you can help a mate out, do that. That's probably the best thing to do. Okay, let's jump into the top cards for this month. And I'm not going to tell you the interest rates. Every time I do this, I don't share the interest rate because I don't want you to be paying interest, okay? If you think you are going to be having to pay the interest every month, then you want to pay attention to exactly what that charge will be so you know what the cost is. But ideally, I don't think you should be doing that at all. Okay, so that's why I'm not telling you that, right? Now, these cards that I'm going to take you through, obviously, they are going to change all the time. When you're watching this, the deals might have changed. There might be other promotions. So make sure you subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on the update next month and all the other videos that I do, not just on credit cards, but all elements of personal finance. Hit subscribe and that little notification bell. You can also head over to my blog. I've got an article which I will link to up here, which I will be updating on a regular basis with any extra promos that might come and go before the next video. So do check that one out. Now, it makes sense to start with the American Express credit cards. These are my favorite credit cards. If you can spend them, use them properly, don't spend more than you can afford, pay it off every single month, then you're going to earn a nice amount of money. Now, there are the welcome bonuses that come on top of those refer a friend bonuses. The best one of those is via that Amex Gold Preferred Rewards card. Now, the important thing here, you have to spend at least £3,000 in the first 3 months to get this. And that also counts for that referral bonus as well. If you do that, potentially spend £3,000 in the first 3 months of getting accepted for this card, and you also factor in that welcome bonus, that enhanced welcome bonus I mentioned just now, you can get yourself £175 worth of extra cash back, right? Fantastic. And you can convert that into a gift card if you want. If you want to convert them into Nectar points via Avios, that trick that I mentioned, it jumps up to 280 quid. Okay, fantastic. £280 from a £3,000 spend. That is amazing. I have not seen anything that good while the whole time I've been doing this. If you want to read more about the American Express Preferred Rewards Gold credit card and the Avios Nectar hack, do check out my video and review, and I'll link to that below as well. Now, if you've already had a welcome bonus, then I actually would look at the Amex Platinum Cashback credit card, because this gives you the most amount of money generally per pound that you spend. This will give you 1% on the first, on every pound you spend up to 10K. If you spend over £10,000 in a year, then it goes up to 1.25% on every pound. You cannot beat that on any card out there, okay? This is a really, really good card to go for. Again, that is from someone who's already had a welcome bonus in the last 2 years, so they go for this one instead. You can still get that refer a friend bonus though that I mentioned before, again up to 35 quid from 25 quid for the next few weeks. Now, not everywhere takes American Express, so there are some different options for you if you want to spend in those shops with a Visa or a MasterCard. The rates are drastically lower, much, much lower. And the best one, I said earlier on when we were talking about Barclaycard, they do have one card which I think is worth looking at, and it's with them. It's the Barclaycard Reward Credit Card. This one gives you 0.25% back for every pound you spend. And what's good about this one, not just here in the UK, but also abroad. Not that we can go overseas right now, but maybe you're spending online for something overseas, you will get that 0.25%. That is better than any of the cards you'll get elsewhere that aren't American Express. You could look at some of the store-specific ones, Amazon, John Lewis, Marks & Spencer's, Sainsbury's. They all have extra points that you can earn with them, and sometimes that does beat that 1% or that 1.25% with the Amex Platinum Cashback credit card. But you do have to bear in mind here that those points generally get locked into a system where you only get paid a voucher once you hit a certain level. So just be careful of that one. Next, let's talk about travel credit cards. And just mentioned it, that Barclaycard Rewards credit card is fee-free to use overseas and you earn cashback, which is why it beats any other way of spending overseas right now. Even the likes of Monzo and Starling, which are great debit cards for spending overseas, straight from your current account. This one, because it gives you cashback, is the next best bet. Now, these cards are generally day-to-day spending. You use them, you clear them, as I said before, and they're absolutely fine. Another benefit of a credit card, though, might be if you're buying something that's quite expensive and you want to spread the cost out over a set amount of time. And these are 0% purchase credit cards. Now, this means you don't get charged any interest on that balance for the duration of that time, whether it's a year or 2 years, whatever it might be. You don't get charged interest, which is great. You do, however, and this is vital, need to pay at least the minimum every single month. And my suggestion would be, let's say you've borrowed something that cost £1,200. You spent £1,200 on a 0% purchase credit card and you've got it for a year. You divide £1,200 by 12 months, the length of the card, you need to pay off £100 every single month, just to make sure you don't get to the end of that period and suddenly find you haven't cleared it and you start getting charged interest. So that's the trick. You pay as much as you can, but essentially helps you spread the cost of something expensive over a longer period of time. Now, I'm not going to necessarily go into a massive amount of detail here on the specific cards because you want to go via those eligibility checkers, yeah? You want to make sure you can get the card that's most likely to be successful for you. And that might mean dropping off a couple of months, having a slightly shorter period at 0% so you can get it. Anyway, the longest one though, however, is with Lloyds Bank, up to 21 months. Up to means you might not get that full time. You might get a shorter amount of time. But if you get the full amount, that is the longest at 0%. Below that, a guaranteed 20 months with Marks & Spencer's Bank and with Barclaycard if you are accepted. Now, there are a few things to consider here and maybe might help you nudge you towards another card, considering the fact that you get accepted for more than one. That's equal. Which one do you go for? You can get some extra bonuses. Sainsbury's Bank has up to 50 quid in bonus Nectar points. There are two different cards you can look at there. But again, shorter amounts of time, up to that amount of time. But if you don't need longer than, I think, is it 17 months on one, 20 on another, and you shop at Sainsbury's, then you might be able to get some extra points there worth up to 50 quid. So you can check out those two cards. Or if you go via cashback sites, Top Cashback or Quidco, you can get a £20 bonus from Santander and from Tesco Bank and from Barclaycard. So again, that might be worth going via those, but please, please, please do check that eligibility first before you actually apply for it. See if you're likely to get it, then go to the cashback site and apply and get that little kickback. Now, they're spending credit cards and they have lots of benefits, as we've established. If you are in debt, there are obviously credit cards that can help you reduce the cost of that debt. The 0% balance transfer credit card and 0% money transfer credit card. Now, there's lots you need to think about these. I've got a whole video looking at 0% balance transfer credit cards, so watch that so you know exactly how these work and you fully understand them. Now, the longest balance transfer card right now you can get, where you pay 0% for the duration of that transfer, 29 months with HSBC, M&S Bank or Virgin Money. They charge between 2.75 and 3% for that transfer. Again, you might not be eligible for these cards. You might have to go with a card which is a few months shorter because you've got a better chance of getting it, but that's the longest you can go for. If you don't need that amount of time and you can drop things down considerably, you can get 18 months interest-free balance transfer with no transfer fee at all. So you're not paying any money to get that money transferred over. So if you can clear that debt in 18 months rather than 25, 26, 29 months, whatever it is, and you can avoid that fee, that is fantastic. But tell you about some bonuses again, some cashback bonuses you can get, which might reduce that fee. Again, going back to Top Cashback and Quidco, there are £20 returns if you're accepted with those banks we mentioned before, Santander, Tesco Bank and Barclaycard. Certain credit cards there, then you can get some money back, and that might wipe out the transfer fee. So essentially makes a card with a longer 0% period work out fee-free, but you don't have to go for the shorter fee-free period. 0% money transfer credit cards, these are really handy if you have an overdraft or a catalogue debt and you need to transfer the money from the new credit card into your current account and then use those to pay off the debts, but now owe that credit card instead. Again, shorter periods here. There aren't so many of these out there. The longest one up to 18 months with MBNA. Shorter periods are available with Tesco Bank and Virgin Money. Don't forget, £20 cashback potentially with via the Tesco one if you go via Quidco or Top Cashback. Might make that one worthwhile. Again, you have got a transfer fee with all of those cards. And finally, let's quickly talk about those credit building credit cards, the ones for first timers or people who've got a bad credit history, trying to build it back up by making regular payments every single month to show the lenders that you are responsible and you know how to use these things. Again, whole video looking at those in detail. Do check that out if you are a first timer or trying to rebuild your credit score. Best one for you, so I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail here. The best one for you is the one you're most likely to be accepted about. Going back again to that eligibility checker that I mentioned at the top. Really, really important you go for the one that you can get. But all things being equal and you've got a choice, you can get £20 cash back with the Barclaycard forward via Quidco and Top Cashback again. Or if you go to Amazon, apply directly with them, you can get a £20 voucher on the Amazon Classic credit card. Normally it's around 10 quid, currently lifted up to 20. So that just gives you a little bit of an extra bonus on top of you being able to use a credit card to build up your score. So there you go. There's your May 2021 credit card roundup and news update. Check out the article that I'll link to below if you want to read out more about these, plus any updates that might come along, and hit that subscribe button for all the future videos I do in this series. My name is Andy Webb. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, cheers. And here are a couple more videos you might find interesting.